Welcome back to the Elias Macko Show. We're going to spend some time here looking at the Canadian Mortgage and Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Have you heard of them? Have you heard of the CMHC, the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation? You know, they say, the Canada Housing and Mortgage Corporation says they exist for a single reason: to make housing affordable for everyone in Canada. But thanks to some access to information requests from the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, well, we're seeing an awful amount of bloat and high salaries within the CMHC. 40% of their workforce taking home more than $100,000. They've handed out $93 million in bonuses and raises since 2020. And then if I ask you, has housing in this country gotten better? What would you say? All that money spent on the CMHC, is it working? Let's now go to the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Franco Terrazzano is on the line, the federal director of the group. Franco, thanks for coming back on.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
And thank you for pointing this out. You know, I'm someone, I believe in government, by the way. I know we've gone back and forth on some of these things. I believe in government, but then there are stories like this and bloat and waste like this that makes me question so many things. Franco, tell us why you're highlighting this.
Well, this has been one of the biggest issues over the last 3 years for so many Canadians, I'm sure including your listeners. Whether it was in 2020 or 2021 when people couldn't afford homes. If you didn't have one, you're almost worried that you'll never be able to afford a home. You're worried that your kids may never be able to afford a home. And now fast forward to today, you do have a home, and now you're worried about losing it because your mortgage payments are going through the roof, right? And the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation is the crown corporation of the federal government. Its sole purpose, as you highlighted, was housing affordability for all. Clearly, they aren't succeeding in that job. And what do? Well, they turn around and they increase the amount of staff that are taking home six-figure salaries. 931 staffers, not employed, 931 staffers who are making more than six figures. You know, I think we would be much better off to just have 931 more carpenters building homes in Canada. But on top of that, you have more than 90% of their staff getting bonuses every single year, while Canadians can't even get into a home. So this is another example of a crown corporation, I think a very bad example of a crown corporation that we as Canadians own, that are essentially rewarding themselves for failure with bonuses while the people they're supposed to represent are struggling.
So what are they doing? What is the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation doing exactly?
Well, so here's what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be producing research. They're supposed to be producing policy. They do have some financial programs to try to assist Canadians. But one of the problems is that they're going down these pet projects that really have no way of helping Canadians. Let me just give you an example here. The CMHC took $450,000 from Canadian taxpayers to fund research into a home equity tax, even though the politicians, including the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, even though they unanimously rejected a home equity tax, you have this group that has so much money on its hand, apparently, that is funding research and promoting research on this type of tax increase that both the major political parties have turned down.
Noted on what you released this week, Franco, in the past 5 years, the number of CMHC staffers receiving six-figure salaries has grown by 199 employees, 27%. Just how many people are needed to screw in a light bulb at the CMHC?
Yeah, no kidding. Maybe that's why homes are so expensive here in Canada. So 931 people, folks, at the CMHC are taking home a six-figure salary, up nearly 200 people over the last 5 years. I spoke about some of the bonuses that are going on here, right? $93 million in bonuses and raises over the last 3 years, not to mention, right, during a housing affordability crisis. But there's another angle here, too, that also happened during the pandemic, when a lot of people lost jobs, took pay cuts, worried about losing their business. The average bonus last year was about $12,000, right? So not only are we talking about the almost the majority of staff, 42%, taking home more than $100,000 in annual salary, but we're also talking on top of that, 90% of employees taking home a $12,000 bonus.
What are they getting bonuses for? What I mean, I'm now I'm like going to echo you, Franco. And this is one where I'm so on your side here. Like, what are they getting these bonuses for?
Right, because in the real world, you get a bonus when you do a good job. You don't get a bonus when you don't meet your only objective, which is housing affordability. So are they just handing out bonuses like it's participation trophies? If you show up to the office with both your shoes tied, are you getting a bonus? This is one of the things that really irks me, because people are working so very hard for the money they earn and the taxes they pay, and now you have almost no accountability in these crown corporations. Because if there was accountability, there's no way that the Crown Corporation that is tasked with housing affordability would be able to turn around and give 90% plus of its staff every single year a bonus when Canadians can't afford a home, when Canadians are worried that their mortgage payments are going through the roof because interest rates are going up.
What should happen to the CMHC? Well, should it just be readjusted? Like, does it serve a purpose, Franco? Can you see a purpose, maybe for a limited version or a scaled down version? What do you think should happen to the CMHC?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, because in the budget, Ms. Freeland, our finance minister, said that one of the places that they're going to have to look for savings is in the Crown Corporation. Well, I think the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporations is a prime example of where the government needs to go to the CMHC. The CMHC needs to say, "Hey, this is what we're providing Canadians. This is the actual benefit that we're giving Canadians." And if they can't pass that test, they need to be severely limited, very, very much so. The obvious one is to look at the staff and say, "Well, I mean, do we need 931 people making six figures at the CMHC?" I think the obvious solution here, step one, is just no more bonuses when they can't meet their number one objective.
We're with Franco Terrazzano, Federal Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, talking about the train wreck that is the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. So, Franco, when I look at housing prices in the country, I feel like homeowners are a bit complicit, right? Because they want their values to go up. Like, if you own a home right now, you love that your values are going up, right? And the government, sometimes I feel the reason they don't make hard decisions is because they don't want homeowners against them. If, let's say, the government, started building en masse and home prices declined because of more supply. So how do you view that aspect of things? Like, so how do you handle this? How do you truly deal with housing by not upsetting, by the way, some of the people you represent, Canadian taxpayers that love seeing their home values go up?
Yeah, I think it's a bit more nuanced than that. I mean, certainly people want to see their own assets that they own go up, but many people are also worried about their kids or their grandkids who might not be able to move out because they just can't afford a home, whether it's to buy a home or to even afford rent. I mean, I know a lot of people's rent's going up. My rent, for example, is going up as well. But no, it is a tough political cookie. But when you get something that happens so bad, right, when you see housing prices go up by 13% in 2020, and then 21% on top of that in 2021, and then increase again by another 2.4% in 2022, it's a crisis for many people. Like, the politicians need to put that aside, and they have to allow development. I understand the tricky political pickle, but I mean, sometimes you just have to do what's right. And what's right in Canada is we just have to allow people to build more homes.
And do we need a lot of luck convincing politicians of that? Because it doesn't seem to be happening.
Well, I think it's going to happen, right? I think it's becoming more of a political issue. I mean, even just over the last year and a bit, especially with the rising interest rates, I think there is much more political incentive and much more political pressure pushing these politicians to act, because something's got to give here, whether it's rising mortgage payments because of the interest rates going up, or whether it's just the fact that people who don't own homes think they can never break into the home market. I mean, there's a ton of pressure building, and if politicians don't create their pressure valve, I think it's going to be bad news for Canada and our economy.
Franco, listen, thanks for taking the time for us this morning. I think we're going to reach out to the CMHC and have them on the show as well, because I think they should, maybe they deserve some time after your segment here. Maybe they deserve some time to sort of prove their worth here and tell us what they're doing.
That would be fantastic. And just remember, folks, these are not CTF documents. These are documents we obtained from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation through the Access to Information request. So it's their numbers, not ours.
Franco, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Franco Terrazzano is the federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation.